The Steam Deck was released over a year ago at this point, and it was able to play basically any game that you threw at it. So for today, we're going to go back and test out the Steam Deck's performance in today's games. Is the deck able to play games that are released in 2023? Let's jump into it and find out. The first game on the list will be Dead Space Remake, and we're playing the game at 800p at a mix of low and medium settings with FSR enabled. And yeah, so far we're sitting in the 30s and 40s. This game had an issue with stuttering on the Steam Deck as well as any other PC. It's been improved somewhat, but it still does happen as you're loading into new sections of the game. But yeah, all around, it is playable on the Steam Deck, and it did pretty well as well when it came out. I think for me personally, I would use a 30 FPS cap for this one, but 40 FPS is doable as well. Yeah, the stutters are coming in now. Where's the aim assist, dude? Please. Going through. Yeah, the stutters are still there for sure.
Isaac, we made it to the bridge.
So using an FPS cap will somewhat help with that, but it wouldn't fully go away. And this path will take us to the ship. The ship area was very stuttery, or I guess very laggy in most cases. And yeah, it definitely is here as well. And down into the high 20s and the low 30s. So yeah, still quite good, but that's why I would use a 30 FPS cap for this one. So I believe if we go in the ship, the FPS will fall even further. Let's see if that's still true. Here we go. And looking back, yep, it's the high 20s. So a bit lower, but still, it's fine. It's playable and a good time all around. So yeah, that's the first game done. And overall, it is playable at mostly 30 to 40 FPS with stutters and occasional dips into the high 20s. Alright, let's back out, guys, and go up to our second game, which I believe is Hogwarts Legacy. For Hogwarts Legacy, we're playing at 800p at a mix of medium and low settings. Here we go with that. And for FSR, we're using the balance preset. So this game had a weird launch on PC. It was definitely kind of stuttery and it was kind of iffy on the Steam Deck. But now, almost a year later, the game is playable at the medium settings pretty much, and it's sitting at the mid 30s and the high 30s. So that was us in the forest, which is a very GPU intensive area. But let's go ahead and fly out and go near Hogwarts. Okay, flying this way, I'm getting some stutters, but all around, it is doing just fine. And now off the broom, we're sitting in the high 30s / the mid 30s and going as high as the low 40s. We did get a couple stutters again here and there, so use an FPS cap. Ideally for me, I would go with 30, but 40 FPS is doable as well. But you will have some FPS dips here and there, so keep that in mind. And lastly, let's go ahead and fast travel to Hogsmeade. That's a very CPU intensive area. FPS is very inconsistent. It goes from the mid 30s up to the 40s, and we do get a couple stutters here and there as well. So yeah, at release this game was pretty iffy on the Steam Deck. It was still playable, but it wasn't great and ideal. But now after all the updates, the game is playable and a good time on the handheld. For our third game, we're playing Resident Evil 4 Remake, and we're playing the game at 800p at a mix of medium, low and high settings with FSR enabled. And here we go with that. There we go. And we're sitting in the 30s up into the 40s if we're inside. I do like the graphics, guys. It looks really nice, and performance-wise, it is playing quite smoothly. I can't feel any stutters, any lag spikes. Again, I think ideally for this one with these settings, go with 30 FPS. But if you lower the settings, 40 FPS might be doable as well. And you're going outside. We're still in the high to mid 30s. It's quite good. And now down into the low 30s. And yeah, guys, that is our third game finished. Resident Evil 4. And this game was actually good at release, and it's still good now. So yeah, no worries there. Time for our fourth game, which I believe is The Last of Us Part 1 Remake. And here we go with that. Scroll up. A lot of options here, like always. And there we go. Cool. So yeah, this game was quite rough when it came out, on every PC pretty much. It was very intensive, and on the Steam Deck, it was no different. I think for me, it fell into the 20s all the time pretty much, and the game was quite stuttery too. And today, it's still very intensive, but we can hold 30 FPS for the most part. I still think the game is pushing the Steam Deck to its limits, but if you like the game and how it looks, you can have a decent time playing it on the deck. I wouldn't pay full price for it still, but on sale, it's definitely worth a pick up. Behind you, buddy. Boom. Wait, he survived that? I'm dead here, aren't I? Yep. Got punched. Next on the list is Overwatch 2, and we're playing at a mix of medium and low settings with dynamic resolution enabled. Here we go with that. There we go. So Overwatch 2 came out on Battle.net first, and on the Steam Deck it was very unplayable, at first anyway. the game was very stuttery and very laggy since it was doing the shaders on the go, but the Steam version has fixed that issue, so the game is smooth the entire time. But the issue with this is aim assist. There is no aim assist on Overwatch 2 on the Steam Deck, so you're versing people on keyboard and mouse, and you're playing on a controller. So it's very hard to aim and compete. So for me, this one's a skip. It's playable, but I mean, on the controller, it is just not fun. Now it's time for some Jedi Survivor. This game was insanely intensive when it came out, so I skipped it on the Steam Deck, but it ran very poorly on actual PCs, so you could imagine how it's going to run on the Steam Deck. It wasn't very playable. But regardless, we're playing at 800p, the lowest settings, with FSR enabled as well. So the first issue I had with this game was that it took my PC settings and moved it over to the Steam Deck, so it's playing at the Epic preset at 440p with ray tracing enabled. And that was making the game crash over and over again. And going through the resolution, I had to plug in a mouse to actually change it, and yeah, all around it was very inconsistent and very unstable. But here we are with the settings, it's all working now, and it should run decently well. The game is pretty stuttery, guys, if I'm being honest. It's sitting at 30 FPS, but it's pretty inconsistent. I'm guessing with the 30 FPS cap, the game will be far smoother, but still with the uncapped frame rate, it is very inconsistent and feels kind of laggy. Finally, we're at the open world area, and we're sitting in the high 20s / the low to mid 20s. The game is stuttering, like always, and FPS is down into the low 20s. So yeah, for me, this is a skip. Not very playable in my opinion, but it can be playable for you, I don't know. Now next on the list is Starfield. This game was decently playable on the Steam Deck. In some areas though, the FPS did fall down into the 20s. So I'll be back on the game again. It's been a couple of months. There's been updates. I've been playing the game at 720p, lowest settings, with dynamic resolution enabled, as well as FSR 2.0. That was a lot to say. Let's jump into it and try it out. Firstly, starting it out indoors, FPS is sitting in the 40s and the 50s. That's quite good. The game feels very smooth and very playable. And with the fire on the screen, we're sitting in the low to mid 30s. That's decent. It's obviously playable. Well, let's go ahead and go back to New Atlantis. That was where the FPS fell into the 20s. And in New Atlantis, we are sitting in the 20s. And it's the low 20s. And from memory, this area isn't just the hub. There's going to be a quest where you get invaded and you have a fight here. It's not a main quest thing, it's a side quest, but still does happen here. And having 20 FPS isn't really ideal. So yeah, this game is better than Star Wars in terms of how it plays. And I think personally this will be more playable for more people versus Star Wars as well. For our next game, we're playing Armored Core 6. And this time we're playing at 800p, at a mix of medium and low settings, with dynamic res enabled as well. Here we are with that. There we go. We are sitting in the 40s / the 50s, but this can easily fall down into the 30s and even the high 20s in those heavy scenes. For this one, you can do 40 FPS or use a 40 FPS lock, but ideally I think the most stable would be a 30 FPS lock. Alright, let's kill this guy real quick. Boom! I think I'm gonna die here. Let's heal up. Ooh, get dodged last second. Watch this, here we go. Boom! I love it. And you're done. Give up! Just give up. There we go, and that's it. Alright guys, time for our next game. For AC Mirage, we're playing at 800p again, and at a mix of medium and low settings, with dynamic resolution with FSR enabled as well. Here we go with that. There we go. Playing in the intro, this area was quite intensive on my first playthrough, so we're showing it here. But in the open world, it does much better, so keep that in mind. Let's go down. And the bush down here will make the FPS fall quite a bit. Now sitting in the low 30s and the mid 30s. So personally for me, I found out that 30 FPS is the way to go. Again, you can do 40 FPS, but you will have areas where the FPS does fall down. You get parried, there we go. Boom! Just like that. You get parried too, and you're done. And in the open world, we're sitting in the high 30s, guys. So yeah, there we go. It is doing much better out here. Again, we sat into the low 30s in the bush area in the intro. But out here, we're easily in the high 30s and the low 40s. I think in the town, it does fall down again, but should be in the mid 30s instead of the low 30s. Come on, Mr. Camel, speed it up. We don't have all day. Dude, he's barely moving, come on. Yo, give me a horse or something. Alright, in the town, guys. We are sitting in the mid 30s / the high 30s. So yeah, the game plays fine in the towns. There's no stutters, there's no lag spikes. It does hold the mid 30s the entire way through. And yeah, guys, that's about it. That is the Steam Deck's first performance checkup in 2023. I think all around it does well. and it plays most games that are new at a decent frame rate. We do have some games that are quite intensive that it does struggle with. For example, The Last of Us Part 1, it's definitely pushing the Steam Deck to its limits. And we have games like Jedi Survivor, as well as Starfield, that are very inconsistent. They fall into the 20s, they stutter, but at the same time, they can hold a 30 FPS frame rate. And lastly, we have Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which is straight up unplayable on the Steam Deck. I think that's the first game that we have that is too intensive for the Steam Deck to handle, but that's how it is. The game is next gen, it looks really nice, so performance will take a hit on the small handheld. Okay guys, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for the next video. See you guys there.